You need to ask. Sometimes you just need to ask so that you know that it's there. But God will send His protection along when He's doing a healing in your life. When Sanballat the Hornite and Tobiah the Ammonite official heard of it, they were deeply disturbed that a man had come to seek the well-being of the children of Israel. How many of you know that whenever you have a journey of rebuilding, you're going to have some opposition? Anybody ever faced some opposition when they began to rebuild? I have. People around you do not want you to change. In fact, when I forgave my father, my natural mother said, "Oh, you love him more than you love me now, or you would never have forgiven." And I now have not talked to her in over 6 years, because she came to a place of opposition against me because I was changing and I was healing. And you know what? My life has been a lot less dramatic since that happened. Sorry to say, but there comes a time when you're rebuilding your walls that those around you are not going to understand. And they may come against you. They may wonder what it is that you're up to and why are you doing this. Because maybe they suspect that you're doing it to spite them in some way. Because you know what? Most people think about themselves first. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves. And so, Nehemiah says in verse 11, "So I came to Jerusalem and was there 3 days. Then I arose in the night, and I and a few men with me. I told no one what my God had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem, nor was there any animal with me except the one on which I rode." So he arrives at his place, but he's told no one. Sometimes when you're rebuilding something in your life, it's best not to discuss it with everybody you meet. Sometimes it's best to keep it a secret, the work that God is doing in your life. Has anybody ever been there where you've tried to tell somebody what God was doing and they had no clue? Maybe they didn't even know God very well. And they think you're like half-baked nuts or something because you're going on babbling about what God's doing in your life and they don't get it. They don't understand. So he goes out at night under cover of darkness and he doesn't tell anyone what his mission is. He says, "And I went out by night through the valley gate and to the serpent well and to the refuse gate and viewed the walls of Jerusalem which were broken down and its gates which were burned with fire." So he is surveying what he has to do. And this is a part of the journey to rebuilding. The first thing you have to do is ask God to prepare you for the journey. The next step is to look at your situation and see what it is that needs to be repaired. What exactly is the problem? Is it everything in your life, or is there something specific that you can work towards at that one time? Now, there may be multiple things going on in your life, but if you can isolate it to one thing at a time, you'll be more successful. They tell me that when you're paying yourself out of debt that you should start with one credit card and you should pay that one credit card off so that you see some success. And then you should apply the money from that credit card to the next credit card and pay it off, and then you see some success. Same way with your life. When you're rebuilding an area of your life where there's been damage, where you've fallen apart, where you've been broken terribly, you need to take just one part of your life to the Lord and work with Him to rebuild that part. If you try to work on everything all at once, you're going to fail miserably because you can't carry it all at once. You need to let the Lord lead you in the places that you'll go and in the things that you want to have rebuilt at specific times. Am I making sense to anybody here, or am I just babbling? Hope I'm making sense. Good. It's a good thing I'm making sense, because I have a cat in the background yowling, and he's kind of distracting. All right. So, in verse 14, Nehemiah says, "And then I went to the fountain gate and to the king's pool, but there was no room for the animal under me to pass." So he went to these places, but he couldn't get through because there just wasn't any room. He said, "So I went up in the night by the valley and viewed the wall, and then I turned back and entered by the valley gate, and so returned." So he went out, he surveyed everything that he needed to survey, and then he returned to where he'd started. So when we're rebuilding in our life, we have to go out and we have to survey what it is that we need to work on. And then we need to regroup. So, he says, "And the officials did not know where I had gone or what I had done. I had not yet told the Jews, the priests, the nobles, the officials, or the others who did the work." So he's not going around and telling everybody what he's doing, what he's up to, what the Lord's going to do. He's not spilling his business out there for everybody to see. Have you all ever been around those people that go out and dump all their business before everybody in the world? It gets old. I used to know a lady who everybody she met, she told them the same problem. Everybody. The cashier at the grocery store. You know? The woman walking through the frozen section looking for frozen vegetables. She'd say hi to her, and that poor woman would hear the story of this other woman's life. You know, we went to the movies one time. She was telling the kid to hand her the ticket about her life. It's like, nobody cares. You know, I'm sorry, but the people who sell you the ticket at the movies don't want to hear your life story. Yeah, no, you don't want to beat her with the frozen food. But neither do you want to tell complete strangers when they say, "How are you?" everything that the Lord is doing in your life. You need to survey it and keep it to yourself for a while. In 17, he said, "And then I said to them, you see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lies waste, and its gates are burdened with fire? Come, and let us build the wall of Jerusalem, that we may no longer be a reproach." So finally, after he surveyed the damage, and he saw what needed to be done, then he enlisted the help of the others. And he gave them specific directions. "I need your help rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem." Why? So that it will no longer be a reproach. The picture of the walls of Jerusalem reveals the condition of many of our hearts. Many of our hearts are broken. Many of our hearts have been wounded. And sometimes we need to enlist the help of others who can pray for us and encourage us and help to carry us along. But you can only do that if first you survey the damage, figure out what it is that you need their help with, and then tell them, "This is how I need your help. This is what I need your help with. I need for you to pray for me in this area. I need for you to pray for me in that area. I need for you to hold me accountable here. I'm having this issue." Anybody ever thought of doing that? If you have an issue going on in your life, you need to find someone who will hold you accountable to that. Someone that you can talk to who won't judge you, but who will hold you accountable and tell you the right thing and remind you the way to do it. He said, "And I told them of the hand of my God which had been good upon me, and also of the king's words that he had spoken to me, so that they said, 'Let us rise up and build.' Then they set their hands to this good work." So after he reveals the condition that the walls are in, after you reveal the condition that your heart is in, and you enlist the help of the others. You reveal what God's plan is for you. You can reveal that God is working in your life. That's good for people to see. That's good for people to hear. Just as Nehemiah revealed that God had sent him on a mission. He gave the plan. This is what God has a plan for us. And so, because they knew there was a plan, because they knew there was a reason for the rebuilding of the walls, they agreed to help, and they set their hands to the work. But when Sanballat the Hornite, Tobiah the Ammonite official, and Geshem the Arab heard of it, they laughed at us and despised us and said, "What is this thing that you are doing? Will you rebel against the king?" Guess what? When you're rebuilding, you're going to face opposition. Even if 100 are with you, there's still going to be one who isn't. So get ready for it. That's something that used to drop me early. I just couldn't face it. I could not face opposition. I didn't know how. I had never been taught how to handle criticism. And so when I was rebuilding things in my life, and I would have 3 or 4 people encouraging me, and then somebody would come along and go, "Oh, it's never going to work. You're never going to be anything in life." Did you ever hear that kind of thing? Several years ago, I was telling somebody that when I was a child, the Lord showed me, when I was about 4 years old, that someday I was going to be like the preacher at the church where I went to vacation Bible school. Now, I had no clue what that meant. As a 4-year-old child, I had no clue. But I remember that day very, very clearly, that the Lord told me I was going to be like that preacher at the church where I went to vacation Bible school. And I was sharing that with someone a few years ago, probably about 10, 15 years ago. And this was just before I really had started the children's ministry even. And this person kind of laughed in my face. "You know, that could never happen," she said. "You know, look at your life. Your life's a mess. That could never happen." And I walked away thinking, yeah, how could God use somebody like me? My life's a mess. It was. My life was literally a mess. I was miserable. I was depressed to the point of needing medication. I was riddled with anxiety. Life was terrible. Everything in life was dramatic. There wasn't one good thing I could even come to. You know, I couldn't even get up one morning and have a good morning. Everything was miserable. I would get up and cry in the mornings. And somehow, I knew that God had told me this, but this person who was a Christian, who preached in the church, told me that it couldn't happen because look at my life. Well, I'm here to say, look at God. Look at God. Because aren't I doing what the preacher at the Baptist church did? Aren't I standing before you on Sundays and bringing you the word of the Most High God, the most holy creator of all the universe? Am I not standing before you now on Sundays and Wednesdays and telling you this is what your Lord says? This is what your Lord will do for you? I think she was wrong. I really do. But all I can say is, look at God. Because if it had not been for the God of my salvation who brought me to this place, I would still be one of those people running around from person to person telling everybody when they said, "How are you?" how I was. But because my God loves me just as He loves you, He was willing to work with me. He was willing to clean me up, and He was willing to stand me before you on solid ground. And He'll do the same for you. So you will face opposition. You just have to be ready for it. You have to know that no matter what man says